Hey, someone else who's doing some pretty good work at the moment, I'm pretty much enjoying watching her, is Anna Burns-Francis. I'm pretty impressed with her.
So underrated, isn't she? She's so good.
Yeah, she's real good.
Yeah.
And so she had on Nicola Willis this morning in replace of the Prime Minister, who I think was paddling a kayak to Australia.
yeah.
How he got there in the end. About roads. And she starts off by simply saying, you can't pay for your roads. Now, we will play this through. You do know I love to interrupt these videos, people. But, I mean, I really don't want to sound like a complete prick, but just look at her face now. Already the smugness on the face. The most disingenuous... Oh, look, I just know it's really hard. The most disingenuous politician, and we've seen a lot of them, Marty, the most disingenuous politician I've seen in an interview ever. You'll get it. You'll get to see it as we go through. So we're starting off with, you can't afford to pay for your roads, can you?
You can't pay for all your roads, so you're asking us motorists to. That seems a little disingenuous considering all those pre-election promises, doesn't it?
We're keeping our commitments. We committed that you would pay no extra fuel tax this.
There's the talking point. I must come on the television and make sure we let people know that there's no fuel tax. That's what we promised. So we are on target. What about all those other things you just added in yesterday? There will be no more fuel tax. We will have none of them. What about the road user charges for petrol cars? There will be no fuel tax increases in the first term. Just stick. And this is what we were saying about Seymour. That's the message that she wants her followers, National Party supporters, to be putting on their I'm going to say Facebook because they're all old, Facebook pages today to shoot down their Gen Z grandchildren who are saying what's wrong with these idiots. So just watch that come out time and time and time again. That's the message.
Term, and we are keeping that commitment. No fuel taxes under our government. We're also keeping our commitment to remove the Auckland regional fuel tax, and we're keeping our commitment to reduce personal income taxes. But you're right, we have made a decision to increase those vehicle registration fees. They'll go up $25 from 1 January next year, and then another $25 the year after that. And I get it, no one wants an increase in any fee, but this will help.
Like, honestly, most disingenuous, but I get it. I'm one of you. I know. I know.
And I get it, no one wants...
Sorry, Bommy, jump in.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we've seen time and time again since this government came in, when they came in and said, the $250 a fortnight tax cut, when they knew full well it was only for a tiny percentage. When they came out and said, they've come out and said, we're not going to do any new charge, then they do this. You see them saying one thing, but they're actually meaning something else. And we saw that with the Principles Referendum Bill, the very careful language that doesn't really actually answer what we're saying. And you've got to sit down and listen to them repeatedly because they're trying to trick you. This whole interview she's doing is just trying to trick you into thinking that, we said this, but actually we meant this now. And you get this with this government all the time now.
I get it. Sorry, I was just mirroring her. I get it. And I'm apologising to some people right now. Mr. Anderson just says, got to go on mute. I can't listen to Willis. Sorry, dude. We'll see you back shortly. But I'll just give her fair dues as well to know that she's just one of us. She's one of the people. She gets it. As she sits there on about 450,000 per annum. Remember, when she was on 250,000, she couldn't take her kids to the cinemas on a Friday night. But with the tax cuts, she would now. I get it, people. I get how hard it is.
$5 the year after that. And I get it. No one wants an increase in any fee. But this will help contribute to a massive focus on getting rid of potholes, maintaining our roads better, and getting some really significant new national roads built. And that's a contribution that motorists can make and be confident that we're going to provide them really good value for that investment.
Okay, this is worse than a fuel tax though, isn't it? Because you are hitting all motorists once every year. It's not a one-off charge. It is every single year that they register their motor vehicle. And it doesn't matter if they use their car once or if they use it 15 times, everybody's going to be hit by this fee. If it was a fuel tax, at least you'd be user pays.
I think
Which you would think a right-wing government would lean towards, possibly.
thing with a fuel tax is it's more painful because most of us need to fill up every couple of weeks, so it stings you every time you fill up. This fee will be charged once each year. And look, it does need to be seen in the context of no increases to fuel tax over these next 3 years, of no Auckland regional fuel tax and lower taxes. And we're going to make sure that that money is going into good things. No New Zealander wants to be driving on state highways full of potholes. No New Zealander wants to be sitting in congestion forever with roads that aren't ready for the future. And New Zealanders want to see good investment in public transport infrastructure and highways that will enable more housing growth. That's what our government's going to get on and do, and this fee will help contribute to that.
There you go. There's part one, Bomber. Feel free, sir.
Okay, so what's really going on here is we're seeing this government. It's something I brought up during the election because I kept seeing these policy statements that didn't seem to make a hell of a lot of sense to me. What we're seeing here is a user-pays privatisation of our roads, right? It's where they're forcing poor people off the roads. They will force poor people off the roads with the new congestion charges that they're looking to put in. And also, if you look at... here's an astounding set of numbers that I was looking at. 68% of road deaths are on rural roads. 77% of roads go through rural areas. In Northland, 3 out of 4 road deaths were in rural areas. Road crashes, and this is the number that just blew me away. In 2021, it was $9.77 billion that road crashes cost us. That is, just to put that in perspective, that number, 4% of GDP.
Wow.
4% of GDP lost every single year from road deaths, from road safety issues. And I just think that we need to be thinking and rethinking the philosophy of our roads. Because what's going on right now is it's being privatized for rich people to force poor people off the roads. The thing that annoys me and just frustrates me so much about what she was saying there is, we want to do more for public transport. What they just passed, what they've just is going to be cutting public transport infrastructure, right? They're doing that while they are putting the fares up. So one way you could make our roading system more equitable is to have free public transport and more investment. Look, if you're a tradie and you're someone who has to use the roads for work, how frustrating being stuck in traffic must be for you. The way that we make those roads easier to move around so that tradies and people who need to move around and can do their business is you need to have a fully funded public transport system to get those people out of cars so that the tradies can use the roads easier, right? That way we all make the like a symbiotic relationship and we make that roading system something universal and we see it as a common good. What National are doing is they're just going, no, we're going to privatise the roads, force poor people off it, cut the public transport and charge everyone large amounts. And they don't mind because rich people could afford these costs and they have no problems if it means they're going to be able to get from A to B quicker. Poor people who can't afford it, screw you. And that's what this is. It's a road privatisation and user pays culture that they're trying to bring to our roading, which is going to lock out a lot of poor people. And remember, when she said, we don't have the money, you're finding $1 billion each year for your rich tax mates, you know? So don't tell us you don't have the money. You do. This is a political decision.
Yeah. Yeah, no, completely, absolutely. And we're going to continue on with her now because there's another good part of the conversation. And this is actually really good by Anna Burns-Francis again, because she basically goes, she kind of calls out the minutiae of what she's saying, because technically they're not breaking any promises by adding these new fees in. But what we thought as the public voting was, but hang on, you guys were the ones that weren't going to charge us more for anything. And even though that's not what they said, that's the vibe that a lot of voters would have taken. And it's quite a good takeout. Now, in this conversation, I think you see Nicola Willis start to get a bit grumpy. It's an interesting dynamic from these people at the moment. Luxon was getting grumpy at the stand-up yesterday when he had to say again and again and again. Now, Luxon has a bit of an excuse for that. He's used to not being questioned as a CEO. I don't know about Nicola Willis. I could be wrong. Tell me in the chat. But it seems to me that she's getting a little bit tired of this questioning and she's a bit over it. So we're going to pick it up with when Anna Burns Francis talks about the New Zealander who wasn't expecting taxes or costs from a national government.
What do you say to people who voted for you? And I would love to say that every voter was listening to the fine print, but who got the message that you were not going to be hitting them in the back pocket. You were offering tax cuts, and the next thing they're facing is a ghost tax. It is a hike to what they will be paying to use the road.
What I'd say to those New Zealanders is, I get it.
Shoot me! Honestly. You don't fucking get it, or you wouldn't be passing it, you fucking disingenuous pile of crap. If you got it, you wouldn't be doing it.
Right, that's right.
What I'd say to those New Zealanders is, I get it. You've gone through a couple of years of a cost of living crisis.
Yeah. This is blame Labour. That also has to come out, doesn't it? Why are we putting up rates? Labour bad. I get it. You guys have been so hard up under Labour, so we have to charge you more that we didn't talk about.
Crisis where your income in most cases has not kept up with your costs, whether it's groceries, rent or taxes. And so that's why we as a government are so committed to making sure we're getting good value for money so we can reduce the tax you pay. You will be better off. And so that we can make sure that...
It took her a little second or so to get that better off out. I wonder if her brain was going, maybe they won't be so better off.
The petrol tax and other taxes don't need to increase. This is a small adjustment to a fee that hasn't kept up with inflation, and it will be balanced out by the other reductions we're making.
But it wasn't signalled in advance. Voters did not know this was coming. The truth is you've got a massive problem, right? Paying for your roading projects does not stack up. NZTA says you could be as much as $20 billion out. How do you get those numbers so wrong?
Well, that's not what the issue is here. When the Minister of Transport went to put together this policy statement, he was advised that this registration fee hadn't kept up with inflation, hadn't been adjusted in many, many years, and he saw a good reason to do it, which is that road users do need to contribute to the cost of our roads. Yeah, and that's why we're not increasing petrol tax, Anna. That's right. That's why we're not increasing petrol tax, which does distinguish us from other political parties who were intent on increasing petrol tax regularly over these next 3 years.
Yeah,
and we've stopped that.
They were going to stagger
it.
They were going to stagger it,
Yeah,
and I think it's important to point out to viewers that you guys are promising to hike it all in one go at 12 cents at the very end of that period. That you're just going for a lump sum. It's just doing it one end or the other. Everyone's actually going to raise fuel taxes at the end.
We're keeping our commitment. No petrol tax increases until 2027. And look, the petrol taxes that the previous government were promising to increase would have hit every motorist. Every time they filled up, they would have drained a lot more dollars from bank accounts around the country. And so we're proud we're keeping our commitment.
Sixth time. Right. So here's one thing that I'll throw back at you if you want, Marty, because we did this last night a little bit. In general, me and Chewy were in agreement. We didn't have a huge issue with the increase of $50 over 2 years for Rego. It hasn't been raised since the 1990s. For me personally, not a big deal. The issue is always one of hypocrisy, because they've told us one thing and they've done another. So, yeah, it's not that big of a jump from 110 a year to 160 a year. But what it is the government, again, not signalling, not holding themselves to the standard they would hold Labour to, or slipping something new in that they hadn't told us about. And it's we play. Oh, I haven't got it up there. I'll play it for you in a minute. There's a bit that I've got from Mr. Luxon that we play here every now and again about every single tax dollar. And he said it before the election. It's what they said before the election and what they're not doing after the election. You have a listen to this.
We want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
Yeah, when you're under Labour, but when you're under National, not so much.
Now, none of this is going to fix the fundamental problem that our roads are poorly designed and cheaply made, and we're not building enough adaptation around it, and we're not building enough public transport, and we're not actually doing anything to future-proof. If you look at Simeon Brown's report, I think it mentions climate change twice. It mentions climate change. Like we have a climate change future where many of our roads are not simply not going to be held up to the kind of weather that it's going to be confronted with. And all they want to do is again use the stick. They're going to bring in more rather than spend the money to make and engineer the roads to be safer. What National will do is just going to put up more speed cameras, right? So their argument is, well, why should we spend more money on the actual physical infrastructure when we can just ping and penalise and fine everyone, and that will change the behaviour? While at the same time they bring in these congestion charges, because rich people don't mind if they're paying more when they're driving through a busy city, to be able to get to where they go. But for poor people, they're screwed over. And when they look at the extra cuts they're going to do to public transport and cycleways, that kind of infrastructure, this is just eroding policy for rich people. It will not prepare our roading system for what's coming. And the way you prepare our roading system for what's coming is you spend an enormous amount of public money, not user pays charges, but public money straight from the government into what is a crucial piece of infrastructure. And because they're not going to pay for it themselves, they keep saying, well, you guys who are using the roads, you pay for it. But we've got such massive, huge migration issues and pressures going on right now. Our infrastructure can't stand. So you actually need a large chunk, a new investment model, and a new way of seeing our roads as a public good rather than something that's just used for wealthy people. Nothing they've put through with this. The $50 they're charging here, the little bit none of it's going to make our roads better. None of it's going to improve our public transport systems. We're still going to be in gridlock 3 years from now. And that's why I think this whole thing's bullshit, ultimately. None of it's going to solve the problems we're actually confronting on our roads. Oh, we'll put some more into the pothole. Well, we wouldn't have had a problem with the potholes if under the Key government they had been spending and increasing the budget for those potholes. But they didn't. Under the Key government, they went, screw it, not our problem. Labor then had to pick it up and try and fund it over 6 years. So I don't think any of this is going to make a lick of difference. I think people who are being stuck in gridlock right now and can't get about their day are just going to be banging their heads into their car wheels, begging for the end to come, because I don't think this is going to get better. I don't think it's going to get better.
I think you're right about the privatisation as well of infrastructure. We've been saying that here for months, because up until very recently they've been quite covert about it. They've been saying they've been saying things like, Nicola Willis, sorry, it's my Nicola Willis voice. I'm sorry, we're just not sure if Kiwi Rail are the best people to figure out what's needed for the Cook Strait ferries. Okay, so who are the best people, but they wouldn't say the next bit. In the stand-up yesterday, after their cabinet meeting, they said PPPs, they said outsourced finance, they said toll roads. So they've gone from going, there might be some people, we'll get other people in to actually now saying it. So I think you're completely right with that. Let me show you something else. This was going around Twitter today. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. I'll explain it first and then I'll put it up, because once it's up, you'll get it. On the left-hand side is the government policy statement on land transport under Labor. This is real. On the right-hand side is the front, these are the front covers, is the front cover of the draft government policy statement on land transport 2024 to 2034 under National. See if you can see the difference between the two. Anyone notice a difference between those two?
A lighter shade of beige.
This one's Labor with like trains and that's at the wharf. And look, there's a bus there and a walking and a smiling person. And there is a road there, right? This is Labor. This is National. 4-lane road in each direction. Nothing else.
Roads. Yeah. And it's that difference, isn't it, between humanizing that infrastructure, that roading infrastructure, and seeing it for the crucial piece of infrastructure it is. Don't get me wrong, folks. I don't want you driving on roads that have got potholes. Driving is a dangerous business. Like I said, 2021, 4% of our GDP spent on the cost of road crashes, right? We've got to see our roading as a living entity that we've got to look after and build up. And that's got to be done through actual direct state financing into it, not user pays. I don't believe in the user pays model, right? I want to see those things. Again, it's that common good, that universal left idea that everyone's benefiting from this. But where they seem to be going is they want to privatise that roading structure, push poor people off and kill off public transport.